With summer winding down, let's take a look at some of the high-stakes spots from the past couple weeks. Watching from the point of view of two of Coin Poker regulars, Ilse and SOOOOS. Jumping right into Ilse and the cutoff with kings and some suited gappers. Naturally, Ilse opens and to 700. Tony on the button decides to escalate things and re-raises to a now 2.4k. With both the small and big blinds getting out of the way, action is once again on Ilse, who calls. Flopping a third king, as well as the flush draw, Ilse decides to lead for near half pot and finds a call. Turn comes 9, improving our holding to a full house as we lead for under 1/3 pot and hope to induce an all-in from Tony. Tony does just that.
Exactly as planned.
As we call, kick back, and decide to run it twice. With neither helping our opponent, Ilse takes both halves and over $14,000. Right into the next hand as Ilse is once again in the cutoff with a holding worth playing. Tony on his bike opens to 350 and Ilse flats. Once again, both blinds fold and we go to our flop, which comes queen, 9, 6, 2 diamonds. Tony, first to act, checks, and with top pair, top kicker, plus the gut shot, Ilse puts in a bet of 420. Nice! Tony, our initial pre-flop raiser, goes for the check raise to 2165, and we go to a turn with Ilse calling. 8 of club rolls off, improving Ilse to the straight as we see Tony put in his remaining stack in the middle. Ilse of course calls, and the river providing no help, and all of Tony's chips and bike going Ilse's way for another lovely pot just over 8k. Now, with pocket queens and 2 spades to a royal, we find Ilse in the small blind as Mr. Funky Fresh raises it in the cutoff to 700. Quincy calls, and we raise it up to 3,000. And given our holding and being out of position, I personally love this sizing. Big blind folds as both Funky and Quincy decide to call to a near $10,000 in the middle before we even see a flop.
It's over 9,000!
Ace, Jack, 6, and 2 hearts now on board. Ilse opens to 2.7k. The bet sees Funky fold, but Quincy decides to put the rest in. With outs and odds and our queens, Ilse calls and sees the great news. Ahead and deciding to run it twice, and yet again, neither improving for the opponent. Both halves going Ilse's way for yet again a $20,000 pot. Now let's take a look at Ilse once again, but this time playing only 3-handed. On the button with 2 suited snowmen and first to act. Opening to his usual 700 as the small blind folds, but our new friend, whose name roughly translates from Hungarian to I believe, re-raises to 2.2k. Ilse calls, and eyes must widen because look at this flop. 10, 8, 4, 2 spades. Believer first to act puts in full pot of 4.5k and 99% of his remaining stack. Ilse of course goes for the rest and clicks it back. With I believe now all in and 14.4k in the middle, players decide to run it twice as he turns over his holding and is behind. For the third time, we see neither run out improve the opponent, and yet again our buddy Ilse rake in a 5-figure pot. Back to a full table, and with nearly $50,000 in front of him, Ilse in the big blind wakes up to almost every ace in the deck. Action folds to Lanzarak in the cutoff, who opens the action to 3x. Button and small blind fold, as now it's Ilse's turn to 3x back. Lance says, no, I started this 3x war, and throws it up to 5.8k. Shocker! Ilse triples the size, and now we're at 17.5. Lands being outstacked can now only call off as the preflop action concludes. With 20.1k in the middle, we see players agree to run it twice once more. Now at this point, this is becoming a quick theme of the video, as Lands shows that he is not in fact only behind, but needs the dealer's help. No surprise, as both the first and second run out do neither of those things, and the entirety of the pot going Ilse's way. He's on fire. Second to last Ilse hand, Promise. Ilse now with pocket aces and one of them being suited, action folds to him in the small blind and now nearly $60,000 stack to play with. Switching things up, Ilse goes for the flat, which I for one love to see in this spot given how things have been going, our depth, and especially our holding. A perfect trap as Mahasajan decides to raise things to 600.
You triggered my trap card!
Trap set, Ilse goes over the top to 1.8k, gets the call, and now we see 3. 10, 8, deuce, 2 spades. Out of position in first act, we see the pot size bet and essentially putting Maha with a simple decision to go all in or bail out now. He picks option A, Ilse calls off, they decide to run it twice, Maha with the open ender and backdoors to a flush, as the first run out does just that. Runner diamond as he locks up 1/2. Second run out improves his open ender to the straight and locks up the second half. Finally, and for the first time we see our buddy lose his first run at twice. Closing out the Ilse chapter, we go four-handed and under the gun, raising it to his standard 700 and immediately getting re-raised by last hand's villain to 2400. Both other players fold as we call and see a flop. 8-8-6 rainbow. Ilse first to act checks his trips and receives just that back. Check. The turn comes a 7 of diamonds and improves our holding to a full house while creating quite the textured board. Ilse now opens actions and puts in a bet of 2100 and once again is met by the same action as the case 8 hits the river and Maha with a stack to pot ratio of nearly 1-1. Ilse checks with hopes of an all-in in return. Played perfectly, exactly that happens. We see a call and Ilse gets his revenge from the hand before, as well as yet again another over $20,000 pot. Now let's switch things up to another familiar face, an S5O's S, who's on the table with both Tony and Funky from before, as well as our last player Ilse. UTG 1 and an open to 350. All players fold, leaving action on Ilse in the big blind. Re-raising up to 1.1k, we see a call and go to our first flop from this view. King 3 deuce rainbow. Ilse first to act puts in nearly a 40% bet of 900. S5OS not only fires back but goes all in. Ilse now calls and turns over the bad news. Ace King and our top pair is outpipped. A miracle but scary turn as the 10 of heart comes in, improving us to 2 pair, but leaving Ilse outs. Spiking one of them on the river in the jack of spades and improving him to Broadway. Not a great start. Hand 2 from S5OS and we're on the button with a pretty double suited holding. Jack Black Jablinski opens from middle position to 700 and now Comic-Con 3 bets to 2.4k. With position and holdings, our new hero calls as well as the initial opener. Flop is 10, 9, 7, all spades. Both players elect to check as we see S5OS put his remaining 2112 in the middle. Jack Jablinski returns fire, goes over the top and gets the fold from Comic-Con. As cards are shown, things aren't pretty as we're pretty far behind and drawing extremely thin. The 8 of spades on the turn seals our fate as Jablinski now has the super straight flush from 5 to 10. With a completely inconsequential river, yet another unfortunate hand for S-O-O-O-O-O-S. 0 for 2, we now find S-O-O-O-O-O-S in the big blind and looking for his first score. Tony from before opens under the gun to 700 and action is folded around to us. Naturally, deciding to defend, the flop is 7-6-4 and we've made our straight. Checking action to Tony, who throws in a bet of 640. Check raising over 5x, Tony's bet to 3520. Tony clicks it back and puts us all in. Easy call. 12k in the middle, and now Tony's showing us top pair and an open ender. We are ahead. No running it twice. All we need to do is hold. Absolutely gut-wrenching turn as the 5 of hearts has now shattered our dreams of pot number 1. Tony improves to the straight to the 9, as well as a redraw to the nut flush. If there was ever a time for a username to come in handy, it would be now. SOOOOS, now signaling the SOS and in need of help. Bang! The 1-outer on the river. Case 7, we have the nuts. We win pot, we on the board. Surely we are past the pain and into the green pastures, as our next hand finds us on the button with 8k per player. Action folds to our hero as he goes for the limp. Scapegoat isn't having it and raises things to 800 as Tony gets out of the way. Calling and in position, we see the Queen of Clubs, 7 of Hearts, and 4 of Clubs hit the felt. Scrape puts in a bet of 1375, and with 2 pair and backdoor hearts, we call yet again. Nearly 5k in the middle as the Deuce of Spades comes in next. Scrape once again opens the action with nearly a pot-sized bet of 4.6k. With only 1200 behind, if we call Scrape's turn bet, we put the rest in and get snapped off. Praying our 2 pair is ahead, but yikes! Finding out his is better, as the 8 of Hearts river provides no help, and we're once again back to seeing the chips move the wrong way. You know, I really thought S50S had turned a corner, but as we come to our last hand, I'm afraid it's anything but that. Just under 3k and on the button, action is folded to us as we look down at an eye-pleasing double-suited double connector holding. Ace-King of Clubs, 8-9 of Hearts. We open to a raise of 700, and Scrape with all our chips from last hand folds. Tony, in the big blind, goes for a 3-bet to 2.2k, and the rest of our effective stack. We have to call, and do as we see Tony reveal his holding of pocket kings. Oof! With the flop coming 6-4 deuce and 2 hearts, our buddy SOOOOS has for sure seen worse flops when behind. But with all the hope in all the hearts in the world, we see neither an ace nor another heart, and our last hand in chips once again going the wrong way. Summer might be coming to a close, but with coin poker ramping up the high stakes action, as well as introducing new events like the Coin Masters Asia, you surely aren't going to want to miss a thing. Make sure to follow all our socials, as well as click that like and subscribe button below. New content, new events, new features, all being rolled out regularly. Only on Coin Poker.